We're going to talk about solving quadratic equations. Now, a quadratic equation is something that looks like this, although this is not the only type of equation that we're going to run across. Right now, in this class, we're going to be solving these guys by factoring. Later on, in a couple of weeks, we're going to be looking at other methods we use for solving quadratic equations, because not everything can be factored. The main guy in this whole section is the zero factor theorem. And here's what the zero factor theorem says. If you have a product A times B that equals 0, then we can conclude that A is equal to 0, B is equal to 0, or both of these guys are 0. That's what the zero factor theorem says. Okay. So we've seen this before, because this is still being treated as a review. This is now what we're talking about solving. We're having equations and we're going to solve them. Okay. All the things we've been dealing with so far in this factoring review, they've just been expressions, they've been polynomials. There have been no equal signs built into the problem. Okay. But now, we're going to have that. So if I have x squared plus 9x plus 14 is equal to 0. The way we solve this is with the zero factor theorem. And the zero factor theorem, the words there tell us exactly what to do. 0. You have to have it equal to 0. So my equation here is already equal to 0, so that's good. The second word says factor. You see how this is a product right here, A times B? We've just we've just finished talking about factoring, so what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this polynomial using multiplication. That means factoring. How does this guy factor?
X plus 7 plus 2. Yeah.
X plus 7 times x plus 2, and this is equal to 0, right? Now the theorem part, this is the last word. The theorem is where I take each factor and I set it equal to 0. So this is where before we would have said this. X plus 7 is equal to 0, which means x equals how much?
Negative 7.
Negative 7. Or what solution do I get from here? Because I don't want to write everything. I don't need to. I get x equals negative 2. So I have an equation that has two different answers. If you were to replace x with either one of these numbers, it would make it true. Questions about that?
So how do we write your solution set? Don't we put them in brackets?
You can just write it like this.
Oh, that's what.
Another way you could write this, your solution set would be this. You use a set builder notation, those curly brackets. Okay. It's not an ordered pair, you're just listing those solutions.
But don't they have to put the least first?
Yeah, you look at it from the number line from left to right. Although when we start talking about solutions that have imaginary numbers, don't worry about that right now. It's not so easy. You just kind of just list your solutions. All right, so what if I have this? If I have 3x squared minus 11x equals negative 6, how would you solve that guy?
You have to equal it to 0, don't you?
Zero factor theorem. So,
3x squared minus 11x plus.
zero factor theorem. It must be set equal to 0 first, so I move the 6 over. So 3x squared minus 11x,
Plus 6.
bless you, plus 6 is equal to 0.
And then you factor it
And you
out.
thought somebody had stolen your sneezes. They've returned. Lucky you. So It equals 0.
Okay. So you have
Factor this
3x,
guy. How does he factor?
6, 7, 8, 9.
So you know you're going to use 3x and what? X, right? What do you know about your signs?
Positive and negative.
No. You have to multiply to get a positive, so they must be the same sign. Now 6 has two options. You can do 1 and 6, or you can do 2 and 3. What do you think you try?
I think we're doing 2 and 3.
If I do 2 and 3, logic tells us where some numbers can go and where they can't go. So what do you know?
The 2 is 3x minus 2.
So 3x minus 2 and x minus 3, is that right?
3.
Now before you try to finish the problem, make sure that everything works out okay. What do you get here in the middle?
Negative 2x.
Negative 2x, and what about here?
Negative 9.
So negative 9 and negative 2 is negative 11. Okay.
So now you got 3x minus 2 equals 0.
If you set this guy equal to 0, can you tell me the steps you would take to get x by itself?
Okay.
You would add 2, and then you divide both sides by 3, right? What would you get from this guy?
You get 3, 3.
X equals 3.
I get x equals 3. So my solutions will be 2/3 or 3. Wow. What'd you say?
We did this.
Yeah, we did this last year, last semester.
I was so new. I was like, looking on my dog.
So this is cool, right?